Hello, everyone, and here we have a new story. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics in the stories you're interested in, and much more. I read and listen to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail, broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published once every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now let's go. Hello, I want to tell you my story. I want to start by saying that I have lived with my wife for 10 years. We have a son who's 9 years old. He grew up a healthy boy and never got sick except for chickenpox at the age of 4. My wife and I have a significant age difference of 14 years. I was older than her. Later I will tell you a little bit about why this happened. Now my wife is pregnant and we are going to have a second child. The gestation period is 6 months. It all started after my son wanted to study at a military school. We consulted and decided to let him to study, but he needed to undergo various medical examinations. In general, I had to help my son with this. One day, I went to the hospital to pick up the result of my son's tests and looked at the blood type for the sake of interest. I remembered my wife's blood type and my own and was stunned. Maybe the baby wasn't mine. What nonsense, I thought. In the 10 years of our life together, my wife did not give me a single reason to think about cheating. I wanted to erase that day from my memory, but it was impossible. I couldn't calm down. I decided to do a DNA test. The result of the DNA test just knocked the ground out from under my feet. The probability of paternity is 0. I walked for 2 days as if life had lost its meaning. I didn't know what to say to my wife and was building a speech in my head. I didn't want to upset her because she was pregnant. I didn't want my wife to go into premature labor. In the end, I calmly put the DNA test result on the table in front of her. After that, I said, "Come on, confess to me. Only keep in mind that I only need the truth. Our future life together depends on it." She started to get hysterical, but I quickly calmed her down. After that, she felt like a mountain had been lifted off her shoulder. She has been living with a burden on her soul all these years and is even glad that I found out about it. She said that she loves me very much and has never cheated on me since our wedding. She had never had any lovers, although she admitted that she didn't fall in love with me right away. At the initial stage of our relationship, I was her support, but she did not quite understand what true love was. She said she was young and stupid at the time, but the second child we're expecting was definitely mine. She also added that if I don't believe her, she can take a lie detector test or do a DNA test together again. Nowadays, this can be done while the child is in the womb. Okay, I replied, we'll come back to this question later. Now let's assume that I believe you. So let's get down to business and tell me everything as it is. After that, she began to talk, and I plunged into the routine of memories of the past years. I was 30, 2 years old when I broke up with my common-law wife. There was no cheating in our relationship. It just happens when people get tired of each other. In general, we did not take offense at each other. We had nothing to share, and we had no children. I was a little sad, but it didn't last long. After a while, my army friend called me. He was in my city and wanted to meet with me. I was very glad that I even shouted loudly. My neighbors even knocked on the radiator in protest. At that moment, I needed moral support more than ever. We met and had a good time. Event drank a lot of alcohol. We had a very emotional meeting. We remembered the past moments from our lives, laughed and cried at some points. At that moment, someone called my friend. When talking, he looked at me and smiled. After the conversation, he confessed to me that he actually came to his niece's birthday. His sister lives in this city. He said that he would come to the birthday party with his comrade, and arms, and they did not mind. Now I had the last word. At first, I didn't really want to go because I was uncomfortable, but after a while, my friend persuaded me. We called a taxi, stopped at the mall, bought gifts, and went to a birthday party. His niece turned 18 years old. As soon as I saw her, my heart stopped. She was a very beautiful girl. Her hair was like fire and the color waxed natural. During the party, my friend and I went out for a smoke. When we returned to the house, we saw the birthday girl sitting in the kitchen and crying. I asked my friend what was wrong with her. He replied that he did not know, and if I was interested, I should ask her myself. I went over and asked her what happened. She said that she broke up with her boyfriend and was very worried about the breakup of the relationship. After that, I used all my charm and sense of humor. After a minute, her tears dried up and she was laughing. As a result, when we returned to the table, the whispered something in her mother's ear. After that, they switched places and the girl villages closer to me. I danced all the slow dances with her, with the exception of one that she danced with her father. Then, the relationship began to develop rapidly. We began to see each other more often and spend time together. A month later, she moved in with me. 2 months later, we decided to get married. At that time, I had planned a long business trip. If all goes well, then there would be enough money for the wedding and the trip. On the day of my departure, we submitted applications. I gave her a very beautiful gold engagement ring after all. During the first week of my absence, we talked every day, but then she started to disappear. She often didn't pick up the phone or dropped my calls. I should have been wary at that moment. What was I counting on, you old idiot? In the end, I just stopped calling her. My business trip was even more successful than I expected. In addition to the amount I was counting on, I also had to get bonuses. When I was already packing up to return home, there were 3 days left before our wedding. For the first time in a month of my stay on a business trip, she called me first. If a girl disappears and ignores you and then calls, you should not expect anything good from a dialogue with her. But I was pleasantly disappointed. She said she loves me he misses me. Also added that everything was ready for our wedding. The restaurant was booked and the dress would be delivered to her the next day. I calmly asked, "Is that all you wanted to tell me?" But she replied, "No, that's not all. Because we're going to have a baby." Yeah, we had rough sex before we left. What an idiot I was. But at that moment, there was no limit to my happiness. I was greeted by the whole family. Even my army friend came by. The way, he was a witness at my wedding. Upon arrival, my wife hugged me and started crying. I thought they were tears of happiness, but she whispered in my ear, I'm sorry. When I asked what to forgive you for, instead of answering, she started kissing me. I didn't think much of it because I thought girls had their own quirks. In general, we played our wedding and family life began. After a while, our first son was born, and here I am sitting in the kitchen knowing that he is not from me. Now, let's get to my wife's story. As soon as I left for a business trip, her ex-boyfriend appeared on the horizon. He apologized to her and said he was a fool. Anyway, he put noodles on my wife's ears, and she melted like sugar. At that moment, she decided to cancel the wedding and return to her ex-boyfriend. She didn't want to tell me about it on the phone because she was afraid that I would do something stupid. In general, I had to find out everything when I returned home. She packed her things and wrote me a big letter, apologizing and thanking me for everything I had done for her. As a result, she left this letter on the table and put the ring I gave her on top. Then she moved in with her ex-boyfriend. They lived together for 2 weeks, and then she found out that she was pregnant. When she informed him about the pregnancy, he insisted on an abortion. But when she went to consult a doctor, she was told that after the first abortion, she would no longer be able to have children. After that, she threw the money in his face that he gave her for an abortion and left him completely. She came back to my apartment. Then she'd taken the small pieces, the letter she had left for me, and put the rings on her finger. She also immediately called her mother and said that the wedding would take place and everything needed to be restored. She told her mother that she had made a mistake and asked her not to tell me anything. Now I understand why there were such honors upon my arrival. They were all trying to atone for their sins. After the birth of our first one, her ex-boyfriend appeared on the horizon. But this time my wife lied to him and said that the child was from me. He didn't believe her, but she said she was doing a DNA test and asked him not to come into our lives anymore. After receiving the information, he disappeared forever. But it doesn't make me feel any better. Okay, let's go back to today. She said she would agree with any decision I made, but she wants to keep our family and is remorseful. At the same time, she is even glad that I found out everything. We decided not to tell anyone about this whole situation, but carrying it all inside is also hard. As for our firstborn, I will never be able to say that this is not my son. He is still my son. He bears my last name and will never know the truth. As for my wife, I haven't made a final decision yet. I want her to give birth and then we'll see. I'm already over 40 and she is only 20, 8 years old. At the moment, we sleep in separate rooms. My wife does not give up trying to get close to me. I don't reciprocate her feelings and I can't kick her out. It's all very difficult. I do not know what to do. In general, my second son was born. I decided to live together for the sake of the children. I don't have any intimacy with my wife. She's like a roommate who helps with parenting. I do not know if I made the right decision or not, but there are doubts in my mind. What do you friends think about this? If you like the story, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so as not to miss new videos. Now let's move on to the opinion of the author of the channel. The opinion of the author of the channel. According to tradition, I want to wish strength and patience to our hero. After listening to your story, I can say that your wife acted very meanly. If I were you, I'd start a new life. If your wife repents and understands the whole situation, she will respond adequately to such a decision. You will be able to raise children together, but your personal life will be separated. This is practiced in many couples who break up mutually and peacefully. But that's my opinion, and I'm a different person. It's up to you to decide. And if you believe that you will no longer make a mistake, then you can try to start from scratch. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.